Imagine buying a used SUV for $12,000, then getting hit with a $6,000 transmission bill 2 months later. That's exactly what happened to thousands of owners on today's list. We're counting down 10 cars and SUVs with transmission disasters so severe they triggered federal investigations, class action lawsuits, and safety recalls. And the number one vehicle on this list, the manufacturer reportedly knew about the problem before the first one ever left the dealership. Let's get into it. Number 10, 2019 Kia Forte. One morning, a Kia Forte owner merged onto the freeway, pressed the gas pedal to the floor, and nothing happened. Not a stutter, not a hesitation, nothing. The engine revved, the car barely moved. Traffic was closing in from behind. That owner wasn't dealing with a worn-out vehicle. The Forte had under 38,000 miles on it, less than 2.5 years old. The culprit was Kia's SmartStream Intelligent Variable Transmission, the IVT, marketed as a smooth, modern upgrade over traditional automatics. What Kia didn't advertise was that the internal component tolerances inside this transmission simply were not built for real-world American stop-and-go driving. Here's the crazy part. There were almost no warning signs before failure, no check engine light, no rough shifting, just normal operation one day, and complete loss of drive the next. The repair bill was brutal. A full IVT replacement at a Kia dealership ran between $3,800 and $5,200. On a car that originally stickered around $18,500. That's nearly a third of its purchase price. Gone in a single repair visit. Kia offered no widespread recall. Owners who fell outside the warranty window were told this was simply normal wear. Many pushed back, most lost. A bad start to this list. But compared to what's coming, the Forte is just the warm-up. Up next, a Nissan that sold in staggering numbers and hid a transmission disaster inside every single one. Number 9, 2012 to 2015 Nissan Sentra. Nissan sold hundreds of thousands of Sentras during this generation. Compact, fuel-efficient, affordable. One of their best-selling cars in America, and buried inside nearly every one of them was a CVT waiting to self-destruct. The Jatco Xtronic CVT used an internal steel belt to transfer power between pulleys, and that belt was catastrophically underbuilt for sustained use. Under heat, under load, under highway conditions, the belts fatigued ahead of schedule. When they went, they didn't slip or grind, they snapped. One owner described it like this: he was doing 65 miles per hour on the interstate when the car suddenly felt like it was in neutral. Engine running, speedometer dropping, no transmission response whatsoever. He coasted to the shoulder while trucks blew past him at full speed. That's not a malfunction. That's a mechanical failure with real safety consequences. But here's what made owners even angrier. Many had this repaired, paid $3,500 to $4,500 for a replacement CVT, only to have the new unit fail again within 30,000 miles. Same belt, same failure, same bill. Consumer Reports flagged this Sentra generation for below average reliability. Nissan eventually extended CVT warranty coverage on select models, but the criteria were narrow, and thousands of owners fell just outside the window with nowhere to go. The Sentra was a disaster, hiding behind a bargain price tag, but the next entry takes that same CVT failure, stuffs it into something heavier, and adds flying metal to the mix. Number 8, 2009 to 2012 Chevrolet Traverse. It wasn't the engine, it wasn't the electronics. One tiny stamped steel component, smaller than your hand, destroyed the entire transmission in tens of thousands of Chevrolet Traverses. That part was called the 3.5R wave plate. It sat deep inside the GM 6T75 6-speed automatic and controlled gear changes between 3rd, 5th, and reverse. Under normal use, the plate would fatigue, crack, and shatter, sending metal fragments directly into the transmission fluid. But that wasn't even the real problem. Those metal shards didn't stay in one place. They traveled through the system, into the valve body, into the clutch packs, into the solenoids. One failing component contaminated everything it touched, turning a minor part failure into a $5,000 to $6,500 complete transmission replacement. One Traverse owner brought his SUV in for what he thought was a rough shift. The dealership called back the next day and told him the transmission was unsalvageable. His wife had been using it to drive their 2 kids to school every morning. NHTSA received hundreds of complaints tied directly to this failure pattern. GM issued technical service bulletins, internal repair guidance, but never a full recall. Owners were left fighting warranty battles alone while the wave plate kept destroying transmissions across the country. A family hauler with a ticking time bomb under the floor. What's next takes the scale of damage to a completely different level. Number 7. 2013 Nissan Altima. Nissan sold over 300,000 Altimas in 2013 alone, and a significant portion of those buyers had absolutely no idea a transmission disaster was hiding underneath them. The 2013 Altima used Nissan's Xtronic CVT, same troubled platform as the Sentra, but with a critical additional flaw, a cooling system that couldn't keep up with sustained driving demands. On long highway runs, in hot weather, on any kind of grade, the CVT fluid would overheat, and when CVT fluid overheats, it doesn't just thin out, it breaks down chemically, loses its lubricating properties, and the transmission it was supposed to protect starts destroying itself from the inside out. Owners described a very specific sequence. First, violent shuddering at highway speed, like driving over endless rumble strips on a perfectly smooth road, then loss of throttle response, then complete failure. Imagine that happening on a Tuesday afternoon with your family in the car. The repair bill for a full CVT replacement ran $3,500 to $5,000. Some owners paid it twice on the same car. Consumer Reports rated this Altima generation as much worse than average for transmission reliability, one of the harshest verdicts the publication gives. Nissan quietly extended warranty coverage on some VINs, but the rollout was inconsistent and the complaints never stopped. 300,000 cars sold, a lot of very expensive surprises waiting inside them, and wait until you hear what Nissan did next, because they took this same transmission and dropped it into a 3-row family SUV. Number 6. 2013 to 2014 Nissan Pathfinder. Imagine driving your 3-row family SUV, the vehicle you bought specifically because it felt safe and capable. And every single time you pull out of a parking lot, the entire thing shakes violently, not a subtle vibration, a full body shudder you feel through the seat, the steering wheel, and the floor at 5 miles per hour in the school pickup line. That was daily life for 2013 to 2014 Nissan Pathfinder owners. The Pathfinder had traded its body-on-frame truck platform for a lighter crossover design. To hit fuel economy targets in the heavier body, Nissan fitted a Jatco CVT that was never genuinely calibrated for the load it was being asked to carry. Here's what sent owners over the edge. Nissan's repeated fix was software updates and fluid flushes. Update after update. Flush after flush. None of it addressed the mechanical reality that this CVT was undersized for this vehicle. The judder always came back. A full CVT replacement on the Pathfinder ran $4,500 to $6,000. Some owners paid it, drove the car another 30,000 miles, and watched it fail again. Others traded in at a steep loss. The situation eventually forced a class action lawsuit that required Nissan to extend warranty coverage and reimburse some prior repair costs, but owners who had already paid out of pocket and walked away got very little. Same transmission, heavier SUV, same disaster, worse damage. Quick question before we keep going. Have you ever owned a vehicle that blindsided you with a transmission bill? Drop it in the comments below. Your experience might save someone else thousands of dollars. And if you're shopping for a used car or SUV right now, hit subscribe, because the next 5 vehicles on this list get significantly worse. Number 5. 2013 to 2015. Nissan Murano. Would you buy a mid-size luxury SUV if you knew the transmission might cost more to fix than the car is worth on the open market? Obviously not, but that's the situation thousands of 2013 to 2015 Nissan Murano owners walked into, because nobody told them before they signed the paperwork. The Murano was heavier than the Altima, heavier than the Sentra, heavier than the Pathfinder, and Nissan fitted it with the same CVT platform, one already proven to struggle under lighter loads, and placed it under even greater stress. The failure sequence here was uniquely destructive. First, a delayed throttle response. Press the gas, wait, press again. The car hesitates, lurches, crawls. Then comes a sluggish, barely functional phase owners described as the transmission not knowing what it wants to do. Then total structural failure. And structural is the right word. The Murano's CVT didn't just stop working. It failed in a way that caused internal contamination throughout the drivetrain. Sourcing replacement units was difficult. On AWD models, the labor complexity drove total repair costs to $5,000, $6,000 $5,500 or beyond. On a used Murano worth $11,000 to $14,000 on the market, that one repair could erase half the vehicle's value. Multiple class action lawsuits named the Murano specifically, alleging Nissan concealed known transmission defects and continued selling affected vehicles without disclosing the risk to buyers. 3 Nissans on this list, 1 broken platform, and a company that kept using it long after the pattern was obvious. What's next is a completely different automaker, and a 9-speed transmission that baffled the engineers who built it. Number 4. 2014 to 2023 Jeep Cherokee. Would you drive a vehicle that randomly drops into neutral at 70 miles per hour? Jeep Cherokee owners didn't know they were signing up for that possibility. Nobody told them. The 2014 Cherokee launched with a ZF9 HP 9-speed automatic that Fiat Chrysler promoted as a technological leap. 9 forward gears, smarter power delivery, improved efficiency. It sounded genuinely advanced. What it delivered was hesitation, lurching, and a transmission that could disconnect from drive without any warning at highway speed. Owners describe pressing the accelerator and feeling nothing, the transmission dropping out of gear while traffic bore down from behind. Others described violent lurching at low speeds severe enough to feel like a rear-end impact. Here's what made it maddening. The fix was always another software update, revision after revision. Across model year after model year, Jeep kept adjusting calibration on a transmission that resisted being tamed, and the Cherokee carried this reputation for nearly a decade. 10 years of production with the same unresolved complaints baked in. NHTSA received thousands of reports. FCA and later Stellantis issued multiple recalls, including ones directly tied to the unexpected neutral drop, which regulators classified as a safety issue, not just a comfort complaint. Valve body replacements ran $1,500 to $2,500. Full transmission replacements climbed to $5,000 to $7,000. Across 10 model years, the number of affected owners is staggering. 9 gears, one massive unresolved problem. And what's coming next proves that rushing complex technology to market is always the buyer's problem, never the manufacturer's. Number 3. 2020 Ford Explorer. The 2020 Ford Explorer was supposed to be a triumphant relaunch, new platform, bold redesign, a sophisticated 10-speed automatic co-developed with General Motors. But that wasn't even the real problem. Within months of hitting showrooms, Explorer owners began reporting harsh, jolting gear changes that snapped passengers forward without warning. Annoying, but manageable. Then the fluid leaks started. Internal seals in the 10-speed were failing on brand new vehicles, allowing transmission fluid to escape and pool on nearby hot exhaust components. And when transmission fluid meets a hot exhaust, it can ignite. This wasn't a performance complaint. This was a fire risk. On a brand new family SUV with fewer than 5,000 miles on it, Ford issued multiple safety recalls on the 2020 Explorer within its first 12 months of sale. Multiple recalls in year 1 is not a minor quality issue. It's a sign the vehicle wasn't fully validated before it reached buyers. One owner picked his Explorer up from the dealership, drove it home, and smelled burning before he'd even reached his driveway. The dealer found transmission fluid pooled on the exhaust. The odometer showed under 200 miles. For warranty-covered owners, repairs were handled. For anyone who bought used or ran past coverage, transmission-related bills ran $2,000 for fluid system repairs up to $6,500 for broader internal failures. The 2020 Explorer's launch was an embarrassment, but it's not the most damning entry on this list, because the next 2 involve the same transmission platform, the same company, and evidence that they may have known about the problem long before the first sale. Number 2. 2011 to 2019 Ford Fiesta. Ford's own internal documents reportedly flagged problems with the PowerShift dual clutch transmission before the Fiesta ever hit the market. Let that settle for a moment. The 2011 Fiesta introduced Americans to Ford's new PowerShift unit, a dual clutch automatic designed to deliver fuel efficiency and sporty response. It failed at both, and evidence that surfaced during litigation suggested Ford had internal reason to expect it would. The symptoms were impossible to ignore. Cold start shuddering so violent it alarmed passengers, hesitation at intersections, unpredictable lurching, and in severe cases, complete stall, in traffic, on ramps, at red lights, without warning. The core problem was a fundamental mismatch. The dual clutch design wasn't built for American stop-and-go driving, low-speed maneuvering, parking lot creeping, suburban commuting. All of it placed constant repetitive engagement stress on clutch packs the PowerShift simply could not sustain reliably. reliably, and Ford kept selling it through 2019, 8 model years, after the complaint started in 2012, after NHTSA opened investigations. After the lawsuits began, clutch replacement ran $1,200 to $2,300. Transmission control module failures added $800 to $1,500. Full replacement hit $4,000 to $5,500. Many owners went through multiple rounds of repairs that never permanently solved anything. A class action lawsuit, Vargas versus Ford Motor Company, alleged Ford knowingly sold defective vehicles. The settlement covered hundreds of thousands of Fiestas, offering reimbursements, extended warranties, and buybacks for qualifying owners. Bad, absolutely, but the same company, the same transmission, in a bigger car and with far more owners, more damning evidence, and a settlement that shook the industry, what is sitting right at number 1? Number 1. 2012 to 2017 Ford Focus. Ford engineers reportedly knew about this problem before the first Focus ever left the dealership. That's not an allegation. That's what came out in court documents. Internal engineering memos revealed during litigation showed that Ford employees had identified the PowerShift's incompatibility with American driving conditions before the 2012 Focus launched. The clutch packs were not suited for the constant low-speed engagement that daily US commuting demands. The engineers flagged it. Ford launched it anyway, and then sold it through 6 consecutive model years to millions of American buyers who had no idea what those internal documents already showed. The symptoms were severe and well documented: violent shuddering from cold start that could persist for miles, gear slipping during acceleration. The class action lawsuit alleged Ford had committed consumer fraud, not simply selling a defective product, but actively concealing the defect from the people buying it. The resulting settlement covered an estimated 1.5 to 2 million vehicles and became one of the largest automotive transmission-related settlements in United States history. Under the agreement, Ford was required to provide extended warranty coverage, cash reimbursements for documented prior repair costs, and buyback options for qualifying owners. But no settlement reversed the damage already done. Others had paid $4,500 to $6,200 for full transmission replacements that, for some, failed again inside another year, and used Focus buyers who had no idea about the history inherited a defective transmission that had been knowingly engineered into the car before it was ever sold to anyone. To sell a vehicle the company's own engineers had already raised serious concerns about. That is why the 2012 to 2017 Ford Focus sits at number 1 on this list. Not just for the scale, not just for the cost, but for what it tells us about what can happen when an automaker decides that moving forward is more important than protecting the people buying their cars. 10 transmissions, 10 expensive lessons, and one truth running through every single entry on this list: the name on the badge is not a guarantee. Before you buy any used car or SUV, pull the NHTSA complaint database. Search the VIN for open recalls. Check whether the model falls under an active class action settlement. 5 minutes of research can save you $5,000 or more. Now drop a comment below. Have you ever owned one of these vehicles? Did a transmission bill blindside you? Tell us what happened. Your experience might stop someone else from making the same call. Hit subscribe if this helped you. We cover the cars, and SUVs dealers hope you never look up before you buy. And next time, we're exposing a list of SUVs that look bulletproof on the spec sheet, but are quietly destroying their own engines before 80,000 miles. You will not want to miss that one.